All right, we're back with our final divisional breakdown through the NFL. We finally made it, boys. All right, so the AFC West is what we're going to be talking about today. We got the Raiders, the Chargers, the Broncos, and the Super Bowl champion Chiefs. So last year, with ease, the Chiefs won this division. The AFC West this year, they play the AFC East and the NFC South. Two, somewhat, well, the AFC East is kind of taking a backseat this year, but so we're going to go ahead and start with the Raiders. They're over under this year, 7.5. And they'll be playing 4 primetime games, or should I say John Gruden got them 4 primetime games. I thought that was kind of surprising,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be old Johnny Gruden. Knock if you hear me.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was lame. All right. Speech, you want to go ahead and lead us off? What are your thoughts on the Las Vegas Raiders?
Well, I think the only reason to talk about your 4 primetime games, the only reason they've got those 4 primetime games is they got that new stadium. They're trying to make a little extra money off of that. But besides that, Raiders, any team that has Richie Incognito on their depth chart, it's not a good team. I'm not all about that team. Richie Incognito, scumbag number 1 in the NFL. I mean, just like anybody that disagrees with me, please send me a message as to how Richie Incognito is not the scumbag of the NFL, and he is the Raiders' starting left guard. So that's that with the Raiders. I mean, Derek Carr, he's so wishy-washy. Maybe he's good, maybe he's not. We don't know. He was at the beginning of his career, and then he wasn't later on in his career. We don't really know what we're going to get every single year out of Derek Carr. So I don't trust the man. They stepped it up at wide receiver. They've got Henry Ruggs, super quick dude. He's gonna be a good fit in Vegas. Hopefully, just the lifestyle of Vegas doesn't catch up to him, because Vegas is a crazy place. We've all actually, Gibby, you haven't been there.
No.
Vegas is a crazy place. And then Josh Jacobs, he's an absolute beast. I love Josh Jacobs. Great running back. This team is just they've got some good dudes. They've got some guys that are just not good. I don't know what's going on with Jason Witten at tight end. Is he retired? Is he not retired? No, I'm really confused with the Raiders. I don't think that they're going to be a good team once again. I'm on the under by 0.5 point. I got them 7-9 this year.
Wow, I'm kind of surprised you actually went with 7 after that long speech.
Yeah, no, it was weird because I look at them and they're maybe a good team, but they're maybe not. I don't even know.
Well, they got some good players. Like you said, I think they had a busy offseason too. You talked about Henry Ruggs. I think that was a really good pickup. I think people are trying to copycat what the Chiefs are doing in this division with Tyreek Hill, using him to spread the field, blah blah blah. And he could possibly do that. And I think it's going to open up. They tried to use Tyrell Williams last year as a number 1 once AB went down, or he was gone or whatever. And it just didn't work out for him. I think Tyrell Williams is a decent receiver, but he's not a number 1 guy. So hopefully for Raiders fans, hopefully with Henry Ruggs coming, they can do that and spread that out, especially with Hunter Renfrow. I think he could actually be a really good slot receiver, dump off guy. So watch out for that. I actually drafted Hunter Renfrow last year in fantasy as one of my last picks. I mean, obviously he didn't do much, but at the end of the season, he kind of had some success.
Yeah.
But you never know with those late round picks.
He's like a Cole Beasley or a few years ago, Wes Welker. That's the role I think that.
Because he's white, right? Yeah. Just kidding. Just kidding.
He's a slot guy.
He's a slot guy.
Yeah, but they signed Corey Littleton, which I thought was a good pickup for them. They had to make improvements on defense and on the linebacker position. And a guy, Jonathan Abram, who I think could be really good. He played 3/4 of a game last year. He only played 1 game, and he was out. So that was a big hit for them. And and then I think we had our last guest, Tyler, say that LaMarcus Joyner is moving back to safety, which is a really good move for them because he's a really good safety. So if Abram and Joyner can be back there in that secondary, I think that's something they can definitely improve on. But man, it's a tough schedule for a team that has an unclear quarterback, situation. So I think that Derek Carr starts, but if they don't start winning, which I don't think they will, Mariota's going to be in there starting by game 6 or 7. So, but I do love the decision to get Ruggs, but it's just hard to predict this team, to be honest. And I think they are under the 7.5, and I'm going to go with 6-10.
Yeah, so the Raiders, as a Chiefs fan, this isn't going to go well. Just spoiler alert. They have about $8 million in cap space. They're moving to a new city. They got a new stadium, but they're the same terrible Raiders team. They draft a lot of speed this year, but who's going to throw it to them? Doesn't matter how fast you are if you can't get them the ball. So, they had a shot to get CeeDee Lamb, which would probably have been a better fit for old Carr because he can't throw it deep. So, but they decided not to. And then they signed old-ass Jason Witten, which I'm not sure if that was like maybe a John Gruden move. So maybe them two can stand on the sideline and be like, oh, let's pretend like it's Monday Night Football booth and let's commentate some practices or something. I just don't get this team at all. And then in their next pick, they draft Damian Arnett, the second corner. He wasn't even the best corner in his team at Ohio State. And then they're like, oh, but he could be the starting corner. So, I don't know. I mean, they have a really good offensive line, but they've always had a really good offensive line, and they just can't figure it out. And I think their schedule looks rough, and then no one on their defense to me really pops at. I know LaMarcus Joyner and everything, he might be able to pop out in there, but this team is just – I try to be unbiased when I do this, but, something about me just – it won't let me. This is a 5-11 football team. Derek Carr is a joke, and I like Marcus Mariota, but not anymore.
This is Derek Carr's last year on that contract, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
I think they can opt out after this year.
Yeah,
I believe
they have an option to leave.
Right. So it's interesting. So, I don't. And how? Say you're Henry Ruggs, for instance. You just got paid a lot of money to go be in Las Vegas as a rookie, as a 20-year-old kid.
And we all watched that draft, right? Where he had the robe and he had.
Oh yeah, this guy.
He's ready for Vegas, baby.
Yeah,
that was my big flex of the draft with the Zoom.
Yep,
yeah.
that was.
This dude. I don't think he's going to get in a lot of trouble, but it's just got to be tough going to a place like that. It's kind of like.
It's a dangerous place.
It's like getting stationed in Korea as your first assignment. Like you're just set up for failure.
Yep.
It's not anything about you. It's going to be rough because everyone's going to know who he is, and I wish him the best because I do like watching Henry Ruggs play. I really do. It's unfortunate that he's wearing that stupid gray jersey this year, but
he's the pick I wish the Jets would have done. Like as happy as I am that's got a brick wall. Like I wanted a wide receiver. I wanted the Jets to get that explosive player.
He was the first receiver, right? Ruggs was.
Yeah.
I believe so.
He was the first receiver drafted.
Yeah.
They could have got CD.
Yeah. So, but we'll see. All right. So we're all on the under on that. I like that. Okay. We're going to move towards the Los Angeles Chargers, the other team in LA, I like to call them. Their over under this year is 7.5. They got 2 primetime games against the Saints and the Raiders. Gibby, what do you think about this team?
So this team surprisingly still has about $20 million in cap space, so they could still make some moves. Maybe improve that offensive line. There's some veterans out there that they could grab. I don't know who their quarterback's going to be, Justin Herbert or Tyrod Taylor, but to me it doesn't matter. Either one of them is going to be terrible. So whoever it is, it doesn't really affect the outcome. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are maybe the 2 most underrated players in the NFL. Definitely the 2 most underrated wide receivers in the NFL. Maybe that's because they play later games on Sunday and people don't really get to talk about them. But, man, them 2 guys can ball. They're renting a stadium, so once again, they're not going to have home field advantage, but they're used to not having home field advantage. So every game's going to be an away game for them. So that stinks. But they have – anytime you have 2 good pass rushers like Bosa and Ingram, it's going to be hard. And their secondary is maybe the best in the NFL. Undebatably the top 3. But, them and the Pats, there's a couple other teams, but undebatably top three. And that when you can get to the quarterback and have a good secondary in today's NFL, they're going to be pretty good. But it comes down to quarterback play. I don't think it happens. And, the offensive line just isn't good. They do have a check down guy at the running back, but I think they go 7-9. But it's just going to be tough.
Nice. Cheech?
Yeah. I mean, I agree heavily on their defense. They've got a sick defense on this team, but they don't have a starting quarterback. I mean, you could even talk about Easton Stick while you're talking about Justin Herbert and Tyrod Taylor. They've got 3 third stringers on this team, basically. I mean, maybe Tyrod Taylor. No, I'm not even going to finish that sentence. That's not going to happen. So maybe Justin Herbert by like week 6 becomes a starter. I don't know. But if Eckler can't make it past the O-line, or if he's just constantly being a check down guy and he's just going to the outside and getting 3-yard, 5-yard passes, he might have a good season fantasy wise, but I don't really foresee him being a monster. He's not going to be. Austin Eckler's going to be a tough pick fantasy-wise and in real life at running back. And then I love Keenan Allen and I love Mike Williams. I think for the past probably 4 years in fantasy football, I've had either one of those wide receivers on my fantasy team. So, but that was with Phillip Rivers, who can sling the ball. Whether he's throwing it actually to them or to the other team, like Phillip Rivers can sling the ball, and he had these 2 good wide receivers with him. Now those 2 receivers don't have that quarterback that can just launch that ball to them. So I'm not exactly sure how their season's going to go. I've got the Chargers going 6-10 this year.
Okay. I think this team is a squad. We kind of hit on their secondary and their defense. I mean, they're a great secondary. I mean, with the signing of Chris Harris too is just going to help them out. He's kind of like a slot corner, but probably one of the best, if not the best slot corner in the league. This dude is a beast. They have weapons. I mean, we mentioned Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, blah, blah, blah. But Gibby Sleeper, KJ Hill, the dude who just tends to find open holes in the zone and all that. I think that their second string now, Justin Jackson, is a pretty good running back. Whenever he had his chances, he played pretty well. So I don't think they're going to have that much of a fall off in the backfield this year, because Austin Eckler can do, he's great pass catching running back. But I really think people should look out for this team. I don't think they make the playoffs, but I think they do go 8-8 and hit that over. I do believe in Tyrod Taylor. I think he made it to the playoffs once with a good defense. What does he have? A good defense. Phillip Rivers just turned the ball over way too damn much. They're gonna be in the run, or in the hunt, I should say, for that wild card spot. So, but I will say it's got to be tough. He's in the same situation he was in Cleveland. He drafted like a quarterback right there in the first round, top 5-6 picks or whatever he was. But he got hurt in Cleveland, and he had a shitty team, a shitty coaching staff in Cleveland. So I think they stick with him a little longer than they did in Cleveland. I believe he plays his whole season, to be honest with you. And that's a big statement.
Yeah.
Because when you draft a top guy like Justin Herbert, they play at some point during that year. We've seen it almost time and time again, even like with a shitbag like Dwayne Haskins, he ended up getting his chance. So, I mean, just watch out for this team. I'm not saying they're going to be great, but they have all the pieces, and I think Tyrod Taylor doesn't turn the ball over, and he's a good enough quarterback to get them to where they need to be. But they are going to miss the playoffs, unfortunately, because that median range where the wild card spots are going to be, there are better teams. So 8-8, so they're going to hit that over. But I really do like this team. Chargers fans, be excited coming up in the future. We'll see what their quarterback situation looks like going after 2020, but that's about all I got for them. So,
I kind of agree with you. I kind of agree with you, because if they really cared about this year right now, they would have signed Cam Newton. If they were like, we're in right now, they're signing Cam Newton. I think they might Mahomes, Justin Herbert, like you said, that's a great call. Let him sit, let him learn the offense, everything, and go all in next year.
Yeah. I mean, and they did that. They went and got the tackle out of Green Bay, Brian Balaga.
Yeah.
So they're going to have a little more protection. It's hard. It's a hard team to gauge because they do have so many players, and we've seen them be so close in every single game, but take those L's time and time again. I feel like the Chargers are that team in that second slate of games that come on Sunday that are always like, all right, in the fourth quarter, here we go. We got the Chargers and whoever the fuck else, and they always lose every single time. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see Taylor play with them this year. So just keep your eyes on them. I'm interested. They're probably one of the most interesting teams to me, if not the most interesting team to me. So, all right, but we'll go forward now. You got anything else with the Chargers? Give me good. All right, so we'll go to Denver. Got the Denver Broncos here. They're over under 7.5 as well. They have 3 prime times against the Chiefs, Titans, and the New York Jets. Cheech, what are your thoughts about Drew Lock and the Denver Broncos?
So I like Drew Lock. I like the Denver Broncos. Honestly, if we would have started this divisional breakdown with the AFC instead of the NFC, the Broncos might have been a playoff team. But just because of getting to them late, I ended up kind of misjudging them with some other opponents during the season. So I've got the Broncos finishing this season 8-8, so they're still over on their 7.5. They're gonna be an 8-8 team. I like Drew Lock. I like him a lot. We had that conversation the other day on our Facebook page, and one of our fans had commented saying that Drew Lock is going to be one of those players that could explode this season, and I believe that. He's got the wide receivers to do it. Jerry Jeudy is a stud coming up in college. He's going to be I think that Jerry Jeudy is going to be the best wide receiver in the AFC out of the rookies that have come up, and possibly. I mean, like obviously he's not going to like beat out Tyreek Hill and just the dudes that are the veterans, but out of the rookies that came up this year, I think Jerry Jeudy's going to end up proving himself to be the best one that got drafted. And then they also got Cortland Sutton to offset him. I mean, even at the tight end position, you guys know like tight ends. Noah Fant, stud.
Beast.
In the backfield, they gained Melvin Gordon. They didn't even get rid of Royce Freeman or Phillip Lindsay. They just got another dude. So this offense, I think, is set up for success. Drew Lock definitely has enough targets and enough weapons around him to help him out. And then even on the defense, I mean, Von Miller, he's getting a little up there in age, but he's still good. Bradley Chubb, beast. AJ Bouye, beast. I mean, this team's got players. This team's got ballers. So I think that the Broncos will do better than 8-8, but I've got them as 8-8 this season.
Yeah, so you kind of mentioned their secondary with AJ Bouye or whatever his name is. I like Justin Simmons and Bryce Callahan. I think they're a good secondary, and then you get a decent defense with, obviously Super Bowl MVP Von Miller right there. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. Well, maybe soon. I don't know. He's like 31, 32 or something.
Still a stud.
But I think that this boils down to their schedule. I'm looking at their schedule. They could possibly win 1 or 2 of their first 8 games. So let me just read you the teams they play right off the bat. The Titans, the Steelers, Tampa Bay, the Jets, which I think they could win, the Patriots, and then they play Kansas City and at Atlanta. So I just don't – and those teams might sound like kind of subpar, but I think the Broncos are a little less than subpar. So – and Drew Lock is going to be the key. Obviously, everyone knows that. It boils down to the quarterback position. And John Elway tried to hook him up. Their first 2 picks, they took Jerry Jeudy, like you mentioned, and KJ Hamler. So, he's going to have – because I remember we were kind of talking about this at some point. Like last year, I couldn't even name – and I feel like I follow football pretty well. I couldn't even name like the second-string receiver on the Broncos. Like I had no idea. So – I just think their schedule is going to kind of screw them, and I think it could deter Drew Lock and his confidence. But I just don't know what they're going to do. I have no clue what Drew Lock's going to do. I want to say he's going to do good, but who knows? They're over under 7.5, and I have them with the under at 6 and 10. Yeah. So I don't know, Gibby. What do you have to add to that?
All right. So, Drew Lock. That's what we're all talking about. That's what we all want to know, right? Everyone wants to throw out this stat. This dude played 5 games and won 4 of them. It's a beautiful stat. Now, I went back because, as you all know, we took a little week hiatus. So I was like, hey, let me see if I'm right about this guy. So he beat the Texans. Now, he did throw some freaking dimes against the Texans. I mean, he really did. To Noah Fant. Noah Fant had a hell of a game. So, but after that, he beat the Chargers, threw for 134 yards. Did he beat the Chargers? No. The rest of the team beat the Chargers. He played the Lions and threw for 192 yards. Did he beat the Lions? No. The rest of the team beat the Lions. And then he played the Raiders and won with 177 yards. So only one time has this guy threw over 195 yards and won a game. I just don't see it. He was at Mizzou for 4 years. He did come out of high school early, so he started as a 17-year-old, but he stayed there for 4 years. And very rarely, as Logston, likes to say, an older quarterback, it's harder for them to develop because in the NFL, after they get to that age. So I'm just not a Drew Lock believer. And then, but that defense is, oh my God, it's so good. They do add A.J. Bouye, which is, he's a top corner in the NFL, top 10 undebatably. And then, D-tackle Jarrell Casey, Bradley Chubb, and Von Miller on the edge. That's going to be tough to block. You can't, one of your tackles are not going to be in the top of the NFL no matter what team you are, and they're going to get to the quarterback. So it's going to be tough. Circle week 5 for the Pats. I think that game has massive playoff implications. But I think this season comes down to Drew Lock versus Stidham, and unfortunately for the Broncos, that early part of the schedule, as CEO Logston brought up, is brutal, man. It's brutal. He can't turn the ball over like they said, so that's why they got another tight end from Mizzou that he knows. So that's a great pick. They play together, and I'm not going to try to say his name, but it's like a bazillion letters. Albert. We'll just go with Albert. So he's going to be their second.
That's the tight end. I got him on Madden. Yeah.
Oh, Big Al.
He's just Big
Al.
We'll go with Big Al. How about that?
So he's going to be the check down guy, and then they are stacked to running back. But there's too many questions for me still on the offensive line. When you draft someone in the 3rd round and they're like, hey, he's going to have to start for us, that's instant worry for me for the Denver Broncos. So there's too many questions on the O-line. There's too many questions for me for the run game. As good as Chubb and them guys are, they're not good at defending the run, great at defending the pass. I think this team again is 7-9, but I'm not a Drew Lock believer.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't. He just hasn't proven enough, and you kind of pointed that out with those passing yards too. I didn't know that, so and that backfield we kind of talked about a little bit. Little fantasy spoiler for our upcoming episodes. It's going to be hard to take Melvin Gordon early because, Philip Lindsay is not going anywhere. And Royce Freeman was, he played well. He has played well. So kind of watch out for that. So I'm curious to see how many carries Melvin Gordon gets as opposed to the other two guys. So interesting. Broncos, man, I just don't know about them. So we'll just move forward to another team in this division who happened to have won the Super Bowl last year, the Kansas City Chiefs. 1/3 of our podcast was really happy last February.
Oh, you all weren't happy for me?
Oh, we were happy, man.
We were happy.
I was really going for happy. You. Yeah.
Not really happy. Happy, not really happy. All right.
I wasn't over the moon, but, I was happy for you. I was like, happy for my friend. But, yeah, so I guess I'll start us off. They're over under this year, 11.5. They have 5 primetime games, which is no surprise. Everybody wants to see old Patty Mahomes. Broncos, Raiders, Bills, Ravens, and Texans, which could possibly be some pretty good games. Yeah. All right. So I think this team could possibly have not a Super Bowl hangover, but a slight. I think they may fall asleep at the wheel versus certain teams. And certain teams, I may say, are in this division. I think they slip up to almost, if not all these teams in this division, but, they could lose to they play the Ravens, obviously, in Baltimore. So they could easily lose that game. They could easily win that. Who knows what's going to happen with that? That could be a loss. but I think they can definitely slip up against their divisional opponents. But you know what? It's not going to matter. This team is ready for the playoffs. They've been there. They've won a Super Bowl now. They know they believe in themselves because they actually went through and they did it. They've been so close, I feel like, for a long time where they've had great regular seasons and just haven't got there. But this year, or last year, I should say, they won it. Patrick Mahomes has that drive. He knows this is the last year on his kind of, contract where they're about to pay him $1 bajillion. So they got to win now if they want to make history and they want to win back to back. They're going to have to do it now, and I think they will. We've talked about it. I think we've asked everyone who's joined our podcast who's going to win the Super Bowl, and it's a super easy question for them to answer. It's all Chiefs, 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 Chiefs. So I think they could slip up. Like I said, I got them going 13-3 during the regular season, but it doesn't matter because this is the team that's going to win the Super Bowl. Congratulations, Gibby. Your happiness goes on for another year. Cheech.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know the exact number. Gibby, real quick, assist me. How many players from last year's Super Bowl winning team came back this year?
Okay, so they're missing their starting left guard, and then they're missing their slot corner, which didn't really play a whole lot. So on defense and offense, 20 of 22.
Yeah. So this is basically the exact same team that won the Super Bowl last year. And to further that point, they drafted a running back in the first round because they were just like, hey, we really don't know how we can improve with what's available right now. We've got these other 7 running backs who were studs whenever we needed them. So let's just take another running back. Why not? Obviously, Mahomes, absolute just beast. He's surrounded by weapons. Mahomes is a weapon himself, but he's surrounded by weapons. There's really just not much you can say about the Kansas City Chiefs other than they are just an absolutely well-rounded, ready to win right now team. This team is explosive on offense and on defense, and they're primed. They're primed to win. Andy Reid is ready to go back-to-back championships. Chiefs going 14-2. And really, the only reason they're going 14-2 instead of 15-1 is I think that week 17 they're sitting most of their starters, and the Chargers steal a win.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I mean, it's hard to pick losses for this team. And all right, Gibby. So we've made you wait through all 8 divisions, through all our talk. Now you can finally give us your thoughts on your Kansas City Chiefs going into the 2020 season.
All right, boys, I've had fun breaking down all the divisions, but, like you guys said, if the Chiefs can do what they do, and they did last year, they battled more adversity than I would say any team in the NFL. All year they were hurt. There was not a single game until week 14 where 4 of either their D linemen or O linemen weren't hurt. They were injured all season. And then into the playoffs, their starting safety, Juan Thornhill, which I am very impressed with, the late draft pick, wasn't there either. This team has a whopping $4.8 million in cap space. Hopefully, some people will get desperate, maybe get a couple, 1 or 2 veterans, but this team does. They have the best player in the NFL in Patrick Mahomes, and then the fastest player in the NFL in Tyreek Hill. They did lose the key player to their D-line in Emmanuel Ugba, but they kept Chris Jones, which I had no hope of keeping Chris Jones. I would have bought a Chris Jones jersey if I would have thought this would have happened. They franchise tag him, and they didn't trade him. They're already beyond that. And then just another year working with this defense. As you all know, the first part of the year with this defense was awful. This was not a good defense. There's no debate about it. But as this team grew with Steve Spagnuolo, who won with them Giants teams that beat the Patriots, this team got better. So another year, an off-season working with them, it's going to get better. I do like Willie Gay at the linebacker position. The Chiefs, like Tyreek Hill and everyone else that they draft, character issues, we're going to fix that. But these dudes can ball. When you get Tyreek Hill and Willie Gay in the 5th and 2nd round, that's just awesome. Safety Juan Thornhill, like I said, is going to be massive coming back. He's going to be able to come over the top and really give that break. As you all know, San Francisco was Jimmy G throwing a ball 2 yards shorter and not overthrowing his wide receiver and then winning that Super Bowl. Let's be realistic.
Yep.
I mean, if he throws a good ball there at the Chiefs, not a lot of time left on that clock.
Ass
Juan
out.
Thornhill, yeah. If Juan Thornhill's held, that play doesn't even come close to happening. And then, like you said, the running back position, Clyde Edwards-Helaire at running back. It's just going to try to make this team more balanced. The left guard position, as we, any kind of breakdown, you want to try to find some negatives with the positives. Who's going to play left guard? It's going to be tough. We're going to try to figure it out. Drafted a few guys, got a few guys in free agency, but it's going to be tough. Mahomes is the leader on offense. My boy Tyrann Mathieu is the leader on defense, and them guys are still hungry. One ring is not enough. They didn't join the Kansas City Chiefs to get one ring. So, and that's really what happens. This is a very rare situation where a team wins a Super Bowl and doesn't instantly break up and say, I want $20 million. Everyone's coming back. And I think with COVID, if there's any organization in the world that benefited from it, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. So I think they go 12-4 in the regular season, just like CEO Logson says, where this team just kind of falls asleep a few times. But it's going to be tough to beat them in the playoffs because they were down a lot of points in all three playoff games.
Yeah,
and they came back and won.
Do you worry about that at all? Like every game they were in, they were down multiple.
You were at the game.
I was at the Texans and Titans games, and it just seems like this team, they don't try to get overhyped early because they know their game plan and everything. Like, you all have played sports where, like, 30 minutes before you're playing your favorite song, you're getting hyped, and you're like, let's go, baby. But then when you're out of energy. So at the first part, they are a little behind, but that's been all of Andy Reid's teams. Just like that huge loss in the regular season, the Titans were – I was in London. I was watching a bar, and I freaking grabbed the remote and slammed it against the wall. But, he's not good at clock management. But with everything that went wrong last year, I think this year there's no way that all that stuff can go wrong again. So I'm pretty excited for it. Depth is a huge issue, though, with this team. Any injury is going to be massive.
So do you think – you talked about clock management. Another guy who's bad with clock management, who you played in the Super Bowl –
Oh, God. It's so weird how the two worst coaches at clock management made the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's just like testament to like where the NFL's going. It's just like fucking score those points and let's get it. If you face a Bill Belichick in that Super Bowl, you all don't win that game. No chance.
Yeah.
So
with them up like that, yeah, it's tough.
Well, we're excited to watch this unfold. It's hard because even if you're not a Chiefs fan, you probably love Patrick Mahomes because it's just like hard not to love a player like that. It's kind of like a Lamar Jackson. You love to like see what he's doing. If you don't like what he's doing, talk shit about him. You like to see what he's doing on Sunday. So,
yeah. And if I could just throw one thing in there with his contract talk coming up, as CEO Logson said, so this is his fourth year on his contract. Next year is his fifth year, so he's going to get about $25 million, depending on how everyone else's salary works out next year. They could franchise him, tag him next year, which would be Dak money this year at 31. I really hope they give him a percentage salary. This has not happened in the NFL, but if they were like, hey, whatever our salary cap is, 15% or 16% of that you get. So as the salary cap grows, his contract goes. So, let's say like right now it's about $200 million, right? With the salary cap. Yeah, so he would get $30 million. And then as it grows, let's say, $250 million, then it would grow up with that. So,
and he's a humble guy too, like he's a guy who's like, he doesn't seem like a greedy person, when it comes, but who knows really? I mean, everybody wants to.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But the thing is that if he doesn't take a big contract, that hurts all quarterbacks in the NFL. The years that Tom Brady took cuts, all agents had to say was, well, the best quarterback in the NFL, he took a pay cut. Why can't you?
Yep. It's tough. And we can go on to talk about all that with the top players getting paid and sitting out and all that. Dalvin Cook now. So, but we'll save that for later. But yeah, well, all right. That was the rest of our divisional breakdown. So we're done with that. We're going to be moving towards fantasy projections here in the future. We're excited for that. Hopefully you all enjoyed listening to our breakdowns. You guys have anything left for anything? Real quick, do you guys want to go over our playoff positions real quick?
Oh, yeah.
AFC, just for the AFC real quick. Yeah. We'll run through it. I'll start with mine. So there's 7 spots this year. I'm going to go real quick. Number 1, Baltimore. 2, Kansas City. 3, Buffalo. 4, Titans. 5, Patriots. 6, Steelers. 7, Colts. That's me.
All right. So I got 1, Chiefs. They get to bye. Ravens at 2, Bills at 3, Titans at 4, wild card Steelers, Browns, Pats.
I've got Chiefs 1, Bills 2, Colts 3, Ravens 4. And then we got in the wild card Texans, Browns, Titans.
All right. So that's us. All right. Let us know your comments. Subscribe to our channel and check us out on Spotify. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it.